Human chess with fists and feet. How mixed martial arts has fought its way to the top. Plus, why increasing numbers of people with allergies is nothing to be sneezed at. I'm Martin Stanford. This is Insight. Welcome to Insight. It's big, brutal, quick, and sometimes controversial, and it's the fastest growing sport in the world. Mixed martial arts, MMA to its fans, may not appear that often in the mainstream media, but its biggest fights attract TV audiences of more than 1 billion people in more than 150 countries around the world. Insight's Ty Genwright is our full contact correspondent.
The anticipation of the audience, the aggression of the athletes. Fighting is human instinct of the basest level. And this is the fight of the modern age. Mixed martial arts has eclipsed traditional boxing, which has had its moment in the sun. Now this is the money-making, blood-drawing and fastest growing sport in the world.
Official weight, 168 for Mr. McGregor!
The poster boy of the moment, Conor McGregor. The Irishman holds the lightweight champion's belt in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the leading MMA competition. Known for his bravado as much as his brawling, he's punched his way into the public's conscience all over the world. As far afield as Afghanistan, McGregor's picture adorns the walls as fighters hone their skills. MMA is a combination of karate, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing and kickboxing, all rolled into one octagon cage. For those who love to fight, the appeal is obvious. For those who disapprove, they've plenty of material to work with. Maybe you shouldn't knock it before you've tried it. So I've come for a beginner's lesson with one of Britain's best.
Very patient indeed. Oh, there's a killer right hand.
Stuart is a professional competing in the heavyweight division of BAMA, one of Europe's leading MMA competitions.
It's as old as a human race. We've we've been knocking each other over the head for 10,000 years.
Haven't we risen above it yet?
Ask our government. I remember when I was a kid, when the world heavyweight boxing title was on, everybody was interested. You might not care about boxing, but the heavyweight champion of the world was the toughest guy in the world. And with MMA now, I don't think that's really true. The heavyweight MMA champion, the UFC champion, is the toughest guy in the world now.
When not fighting, he teaches at this East London gym.
What about people who are terrified of the idea of being punched in the face or even at throwing a punch?
Most people are here for fitness, but I encourage most people to spar as well. So even if we're not trying to hurt each other, but technically spar. So it's not just understanding the technique; it's actually applying it in principle as well. I think that's quite important.
So this beginner is about to be put at the mercy of a pro. There is a long list of potential moves and plenty of rules about what you can't do. Before I know it, I'm in position for one of the more controversial moves, the ground and pound, in which fighters straddle their opponent's chest, holding their head in place for a beating. I had an easier time getting to know the moves with George, a one-time boxer who started MMA late last year.
I came to MMA probably because there's a mix. I did so much boxing. I did 7 years of amateur boxing, and it's tough. It's really tough. It's just you go in, you train hard, and you get hit a lot.
Isn't that part of the unpredictability of MMA, that you never know how you're going to be grappled or hit?
Oh, definitely. But I suppose the thing that I didn't understand was that you really do spend a lot of time training each discipline. So you'll go and train Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for an hour, you'll go and train boxing, you'll go and train Muay Thai.
Compared to with things like boxing, and that's the sport that some people think should be kind of phased out because it's too violent, and then you suddenly take it to the next level with something like MMA. I mean,
it's a really good point, and I think UFC the last UFC event. I was really shocked by it. I think the referees have got worse. Stoppages should have happened earlier. You know, there are people taking too many hits in some things now. But I also think there's an argument to be made about MMA particularly, is that you're taking a lot less headshots. You are, with boxing, you know, I was getting hit in the head, you know, every day, for, you know, 6 days a week for 7 years. So, whereas here, I hardly take any.
There is a little bit of a danger aspect in it, you know, but there isn't, it's life, you know, like anyone can step out in the road, you know, everyone at some point has done something stupid and got hurt. But I think it's also a good kind of confidence builder. You know, you realise you're not made of glass. You know, we were designed to make contact sports and do that. But it kind of channels that aggression into a positive area.
But this is a sport that knows what it's like to lose one of its heroes. This is the Portuguese fighter João Carvalho in January last year, winning a match against a rival on home ground. 4 months later, at an international match in Dublin, Carvalho was taken to hospital after losing this fight. Some critics say it should have been stopped before these final blows from his opponent. The 28-year-old needed emergency brain surgery, but he did not survive. No sport is completely safe, especially those involving contact. But a study by the University of Alberta found that traditional boxers are more likely to suffer long-term health consequences from head traumas. MMA certainly looks bloodier and has greater potential to cause injury, but those injuries are more likely to be superficial. Ty Genwright reporting for Insight.
Discuss that further. I'm joined in the studio by Sophie Langsford, who's an MMA fighter and a personal trainer here in London. And also with us is Dave O'Donnell, who's a mixed martial arts promoter. He's currently the chief executive and founder of Ultimate Challenge MMA. Welcome to you both. Dave, let me start with you. Is it really safer than boxing? Because it doesn't look it.
I'd say it's 100% safer than boxing.
Tell me why.
Because just as the guy said in the video, you're getting repeated blows to the head, whereas mixed martial arts, you can grapple them, you can wrestle them. There's so many more different ways to not get hit in the head. Whereas boxing match, that's all you do. And people are about banning the sports. I think you've had, mate, I think there's 2 deaths in MMA over 18 years. If you look at the deaths in boxing, the marathon, you know, everyone goes, oh, everybody runs a marathon every year. 9 times out of 10, there'll be someone popped off, and it could just crack on to another marathon. You know, to do 26 miles, I would rather get in a cage any day than run 26 miles. But it's just different people's perspective.
But just so we're clear, it does have some rules, and the referee is there to adjudicate. Or does it not have rules?
I wouldn't say some rules. It's got loads of rules. You know, to the outside, I can't believe we're having this conversation, actually, Martin. I thought you'd have done more homework about it. But
well, I asked that because it sort of emerged from a contest like the kickboxing and cage fighting where there were no rules at all, right?
That's right back in the day, as you say, the 90s, the early 90s, and even the UFC started, there was no rules. 1993 was the first fight. Anyway...
That's my comment. You only just put rules in.
That was in the dark ages. You know, we've moved on so far from there now. You know, we've moved on so far. It's a sport now that is growing around the world. And as I said many years ago, you know, come another 10 years from now, you'll take your kid to train mixed martial art. That's where any fighter will learn. They'll learn mixed martial arts, not a Muay Thai, not a karate. They'll be going to mixed martial arts because it's an all-round sport.
And it's an all-round sport because women enjoy playing it, practicing the art, and indeed watching it too. How did you get into it?
Well, I started doing it about 5 years ago when I accidentally started doing a wrestling class. And
how do you accidentally start a wrestling class?
I signed up for another class and then they were like, it's going to turn into Zumba. I was like, I ain't doing Zumba. So, so that was my only other option. So I started doing that and I just loved it. It was like play fighting. I grew up with brothers, so we used to play fight all the time and like it was just play fighting with rules. So I initially got into the grappling side of it, which is probably the one that's most crucial personally to me because there's so much to it that is an endless stream of knowledge you have to have for grappling. And I think that's where I started to grow my appreciation for MMA because to a person that doesn't know grappling and doesn't know a lot of the detail to it, you can't appreciate how much hard work and how much knowledge goes into pulling off those moves.
It's strategic, isn't it? I mean, we used the chess illusion earlier on. There are things which can follow on from that move into that move, and that you only learn through experience. So that needs a bit of brain power as well, rather than the physical strength.
Yeah, it's all mat time. Is that the amount of hours you spend on the mat is how you get naturally good at making the moves and knowing how to react to someone else's response. And there's just endless ways that things can turn out, and that's how you've got to appreciate that. It's not just a scrap in a cage. We're not just getting in there and like throwing hands and throwing each other around. There's so much strategy to it. It's unbelievable.
But the finishing off section is pretty brutal, isn't it? And when we saw the film straddling your opponent, just bashing them around the head, even boxing doesn't allow that to happen, does it?
Of course. I mean, my last fight, I finished it with a TKO, so I was in that exact position.
A what, sorry?
A TKO, technical knockout. So I finished off in exactly that position. I was in full mount. I was throwing punches at my opponent. She couldn't move. I was in a very strong position. And at the end of the day, I trained long and hard to win that fight. And in me, I thought that's the best way for it to end because I'm better than her. So for me and her to go at it for another round, just finish it there. And they won't make it go to the point of them being unconscious. They'll stop it at a sensible and reasonable time. And the whole time that I was striking her, the referee was going, Jade, are you okay? Are you okay? Double checking, she was fine, double checking again, and eventually she stopped responding, and that's when he stopped it immediately.
But she had to stop responding. She wasn't allowed to, if you like, surrender.
She was fighting
or signal
for it.
That she wants to give up.
Yeah, she was fighting for it. She wanted it to carry on because she didn't want to lose as well. And as soon as she stopped signalling that she wasn't, you know, she was not reacting the way she should be, he stopped it immediately.
What's the sort of athlete do you need to be, Dave, to do this? Is it the pure power strength, the big body? We just saw a big heavyweight boxing fight. Look, or is it the slighter figure actually can work just as well?
I mean, that's the beauty of the way mixed martial arts has gone. In the old days, as we said, with no rules, you could fight a 300-pound guy and you could be her size.
Well, there's no matching.
There was no weight classes. The weight classes have come in over the years. They've come in, and at the moment now, I'm even talking to a lot of my guys saying, I want to bring in more weight classes because, as we were speaking outside, the amount of weight that some of these girls and guys cut is absolutely tremendous. You was on about cutting 10 kilos.
Yeah.
You know, 10 kilos to have a fight at a certain weight, which I think is not right for the human body parts. You know, so I'm in the midst of now trying to get the guys to go, don't cut that much weight, fight your more natural weight. It's safer. And that's what happened to that guy on the video in Ireland. He cut so much weight.
When you say cut, he lost the weight for the fight, did he?
You lose the weight for like boxers do it, but MMA fighters, because it's a lot of wrestling compound, they've learned to cut more weight over the years, and because the Americans were doing so much weight, and you're talking about 10 to 15 kilos cutting weight. That is an amazing amount of weight to cut for a fight.
So we appreciate there's the technical side of this and a lot of the moves to learn and how you can change from one move to another to gain an opponent. What about the general fitness? Are the usual sort of things like any athlete, you know, the running, the aerobic exercises, that's all required as well, is it?
Yeah, of course it is. But you imagine your lungs are not in one position. As a runner, they're in one position all the same time.
Yeah.
As a jiu-jitsu fighter, they're literally in the same position all the time. They're flat. As a boxer, with mixed martial arts, they're up, they're down, they're here. So you've got to train all the aspects.
So they're even greater athletes. Oh. Is this the toughest form of athleticism anyway?
The decathlon of fighting. I've always said it, you know, this you've got to be a whole-rounded fighter to be a mixed martial artist.
And Sophie, you're a participant in this, so of course you're going to be interested in it. But it's interesting to note that at Dave's events and others, the attendance, it's not just a male audience, is it, that enjoy this either on television or by attending the events. It seems to be across the sexes, both seem to enjoy the fighting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as we were saying earlier, the girls do get dressed up. They love to watch, like, the guys and girls get involved with the fights. I mean, on my fight, I went into the toilets and there was a girl bumped into me and then she was like, oh my God, a girl fight. She got so excited. She was like, when are you on? I'm going to watch you. I'm going to be screaming for you. I mean, it's a sport. If you're into sports, then it's definitely an amazing one to watch. It's so entertaining. It can go one way or the other. It's so dramatic and it's, you know, everyone's different. Not all girls are going to hate sports. I hate football, but some girls love football. You know, everyone's different.
Oh, well, we'll have to watch the growth of it as the years go by. Sophie Langsford and Dave O'Donnell, thank you both very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
This is Insight. Coming next, we'll find out why more and more people in the world are getting allergies.